issues which are difficult to be done, the government can deal with that. So in the interim, government will have to be forced to realign some or move some resources where initially it was going to be done. In terms of buffer, the quantum of buffer is what we do not know. But I think that we should think or look behind the mirror by way of asking ourselves, what can we do so that we can, if not zero, but minimize the potential of these protracted international issues on us. We cannot absorb ourselves completely, but you can always have certain thematic developmental phases that even if your neighbor is crying, you will maybe hearing the cry, but hearing the cry may not be as much as it will be on your people. And so I think Ghana, we haven't taken lessons, so much lessons on that. If you look at the previous administration, where you and I, most of the time when we sit here, we talk about Russian, Ukraine, even though it couldn't have enough, impact on us, but ultimately there were some impacts as far as, for example, wheat production and others were concerned. And so for me, I was thinking that we'll take lessons from that, so that if it is that we are going to do internal agriculture productivity to boost our food basket in the economy, and also liberalize some workings in terms of job creation, that will reduce pressure on us as a country. But by and large, there is going to be an impact in terms of African stance. AU has always taken the posture of non-alignment.
Yeah.
And because of that, those countries who feel within the context of AU and feel that they can still go along with other countries, they still find themselves going along with these countries. And I think that it is high time that their position should not be shrouded with hypocrisy, but their position should be one that everybody knows that this is what Africa is thinking, and we do not mince words in doing that. For days going, you see, if you look at the war as it is in its entirety, for days going, there will be other issues that will come up, because already countries who didn't want or who didn't like either Israel or Iran will play into it, and then we'll see how things will. But my prayer and my hope is that America will come in to see how they can do, even though now people are seeing the way Donald Trump is thinking. His thought is going along with this one, that if they don't wipe out the supreme leader, the country will not have that. What about if he's gone? Do we know the one who is going to come? That will be another thing that we cannot tell. So, but for me, I think that this is high time that people should, or leaders should come together and begin for us to be able to see how we can deal with some of these things in a manner where we know that conflicts are not just the only solution to issues that we can deal with, but there are other forms of issues that we can deal with, or other forms that we can tackle conflicts. So that at the end of the day, nations will not suffer. By and large, many countries will suffer because there are other countries who perhaps are dependent on these two countries. And then fallout from these will have a rippling effect on all of us. And so for me, the Ghanaian government we've been informed that the government is going to find a footer for us where things will go the way we want it. At the end of the day, we won't have enough impact on us, but we will need to retool our economy. Because personally, when I sit there and I look at Ghana, I don't know of how Prof will look at Ghana. It looks as if we are our if you look at W.W. Rostow talking about economic series of economic growth. If you look at Ghana, I still cannot see how I'm placing Ghana, even though we begin to have to be making strides, but our base is not as solid as some of us will feel. For example, food prices should be something that we can deal with to be able to ensure that when we have external shocks or external issues, that such a shocks will not happen to us. Agriculture productivity, especially for those of us from the northern part of the country, how do we even retool these arable lands where it can produce enough food? If we have all of this, government will not be talking about shocks, because oil will be the bane that will be challenging to us, and we can still diversify that part too, so that our consumption of oil can be diversified. And I think that impact will be mitigated a bit. But in the short run, it will not be too much. But in the middle or long run, that's what we cannot tell. But if the war continuously gets protracted, gets stayed, it will throw off our what we call our exchange rate volatility. There will be volatility in terms of our exchange rate, because pressure will come that more monies will be required to be able to import dollar. There will also be what we call imported inflation, because other countries who may feel it more than us, and then we likely trading with them, will have issues unless there is a swift dealing with countries who are somehow stable. For example, China. If it is that these are happening, then our country will, the government will have to have no resting than to deal with countries like China, where we can reduce the pressure on us as a country.
Thank you very much. If you're just joining us, this is the newspaper review segment of Good Morning Africa, live here on Pan-African television across 46 South African countries. We are also being watched in some parts of Europe and South America, YouTube and Facebook. We are both there. There's a story on the front page of today's edition of the Ghanaian Publisher. It's very interesting how this newspaper has captured this story. It says, Fitch upgrade vindicates NPP's legacy. This is coming from the minority. Fitch upgrade vindicates NPP's legacy. This is the Ghanaian Publisher. I mean, you may beg to differ, but people would also argue that, honorable, government is a continuum. No, and so there was a debt restructuring. Yes. So I'm coming. But I'm saying that government is a continuum. No problem. And so if they took a decision today, the NDC government is reaping the rewards or the dividends of that decision, why not give them the credit for it?
Okay, I think you have ushered me into this one, but let me. I don't think no one is saying they have not contributed in any way. But you see, sometimes when our colleagues from the other side of the political divide communicate, I don't know whether they assume that as a nation we have some collective amnesia or selective amnesia where we have some temporal memory loss, or memory loss confined to certain portions of the place. I'm not an economist.
Prof is taking us to the medical
class. No, I'm going to leave
selective amnesia and then
memory loss.
And then
amnesia is memory loss. That's why I brought it back.
Right.
Bless. Who took us to junk status? Under whose tenure did the rating agencies take us to junk status? Which president of Ghana on the international stage criticized the rating agencies for rating us, and that they are rating us as junk status as part of our trouble? It's His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. So the government that was very critical of these rating agencies, that they are part of our trouble, why do they rate us as junk? Today they are rating us as B plus or B minus, and you are running back to want to claim credit for that? I thought they would even say that they are NDC rating agencies, honestly, but for the international picture that they have. You see, this country's economy sank to a level it has never been as far as this democratic dispensation is concerned. Have we ever seen inflation rates 50-something% in this country before? In the democratic dispensation, not military regimes, during this democratic period? Never. This is the economy you gave to us, where Ministry of Health was owing so much that there were assertions that part of their accounts were being garnished and they couldn't get access. Where Energy Ministry debt so much, Bank of Ghana for the first time was posing losses. It wasn't only on the international scale, at the local level. I just want to remind Ghanaians a little. For me, I keep saying that, bless, the biggest scar on my mind, that if I had left this country, that would have been the reason why I would have left this country, was when government decided to enter directly into the pockets of citizens and take money, and could not even spare the elderly. That I saw my lecturers, my professors, medical professors, retired medical professors, queue up at finance ministry begging that their money should be given to them. Pension money that they have saved, so that they can buy drugs. This is how low we went. But if I tell you the impact of that singular act on young people in Ghana, professionals who could leave this country, most of the middle class that could leave left. A lot of doctors left, nurses left, lawyers were leaving, because what country is it that you cannot even be sure that even if you buy a government bond, the most safest security anywhere in the world, that is no longer safe in Ghana? They turn upside down our basic understanding of all financial principles. Investment. When we were in secondary, when we were in the university, we are attending investment seminars. They'll come and tell us, put some 1 cedi in this. I don't want to mention specific funds. If you put 10 cedis every time you get this, then you buy government treasury. This is what we're taught. Save something every day and then invest. And we knew that the safest form of investment was government securities. What happened to us? You borrowed so much. You were in default everywhere. You couldn't pay. You took people's money on the assurance of paying back. You unilaterally decided that you extend some by 30 years, 20 years, 15 years for someone that is 70. What would the person live to even reap the benefits of that money? We cried that the economy was going the wrong direction. Go to IMF. Say, no, we are a proud sovereign nation. We will never step foot at IMF. And you see, I said it on this platform. If you remember, I said on this platform that, look, if a doctor delays in making a diagnosis and makes the diagnosis late, there are serious consequences, and that doctor should be charged for negligence.
A stitch in time saves 9.
Saves 9.
Yeah.
So if someone could not make the diagnosis of the correct problem of this economy and took us to IMF in a moribund state that we could not even negotiate our own terms. Ghana has been to the IMF severally, but on each occasion we've gone to the IMF. Look at how we went. When we went to the IMF under the previous NDC administration, we had a Century Forum, we had our own homegrown policy, and we took that to the IMF to discuss. Here, we were at a point where government was on its knees. That if the IMF couldn't come in, they would not be able to run the state, they cannot pay salaries. That's how bad it was. So if you are going to borrow at a time that if they don't give you the money, you will not get food to eat, you'll be ejected from your home, you are virtually dying. If they give you at any rate, you take it, because you just need to survive that day. That's how I went to the IMF. We're in default everywhere. This rating, my basic understanding is it is about your ability to pay back when people lend to you. That's what this rating is all about. So it gives the international investor that a country whose rating is good, if you invest in them, their risk of default is low. They are likely to be able to pay you back. That's basically what this rating, in the summary, that's the import of it. There will be other technical things that goes into this classification, but once the classification comes, the basic implication is that this person is not likely to be able to pay you when you give them money, or this person can pay you. Your risk of this person's risk of default is very high. So granted, maybe the decision to go to IMF, though very late, for which if I were a prosecutor, I would cite some people for negligence, for making very wrong decisions, taken as a very late, that has caused us so many troubles. Granted that it would have contributed to this if they claim there are any policies they put in place, but if this government had continued in the same trajectory in which they had continued, borrowing and cannot pay, spending lavishly around, having 120 ministers, having people flying and wanting to bath in the air, if that was the kind of governance we had, this rating, we won't get it. I didn't even know that there was a rating called junk. I knew that there was A, B, C. It was, I mean, I learned a lot of things. So it was the first time I heard that we had gone into junk status. I thought the last was CC or something, and then we had gone beyond all of that into junk. Like were declared useless, basically. And someone has come. 5 months. We've worked so hard. We are minimizing our default. Government is paying all its treasury bills. There's some confidence even on the local market. People are now buying treasury bill. People were thinking, look, Bless, I tell you, in Parliament, when around the time of the budget, when the treasury bill rates were falling, we had our colleagues on the other side. I mean, I'm not a finance person, so when they spoke and I was even scared, I had some small treasury bill. When I heard theirs, I was like, hey, what's going to happen to us? They were like, no, this is not sustainable. It cannot be there for more than 4 weeks. That you have such a wide gap between treasury bill rates and the interest rate. Right? That treasury bill rate is around 15 and interest rate is in the 20s. That gap is not sustainable by all the economic theories. They propounded several theories and made us understand it was not possible. And that what happened, if that happened, people were going to move their money from treasury bill to go and buy dollar. And because of that, the dollar was going to be in the sky. Because people are not going to invest in treasury bill. And people have money, liquid money they want to invest. So they will divert them to places where the money will gain value. And that is in buying dollars. Well, thankfully, all their theories could not hold. Treasury bill remained low, and the dollar rather fell in addition. And they said this was not sustainable. No one called them Sambalat and whatever.
Tobias.
And Tobias. Which were names were called when people were expressing pessimism of what they were feeling. When you said something negative, that was the description we were giving. But we didn't say that. We're like, hey, let's study this thing and see what they are saying. Does it have any merits? Our finance people told us that we should have no fears. They were solid on what they were doing. I personally walked to some of our top finance gurus in Parliament and asked them, hey, what these people are saying? Is it real? This gap, is it sustainable? And they made it sound very reasonable that, look, if I invest money and the interest I'll get on it is so low compared to money that I've borrowed, and I have money, and I invested, the money is losing value over time because of inflation, then why would anybody invest in this? But it's been sustained 5 months, 6 months and counting. So the summary of it is that people should be fair to give credit where credit is due.
Right.
Honestly, I wish we would not go NPP, NDC on this.
Yeah.
The government of Ghana is doing something good. The government of Ghana has put in some fundamental things. We have not transformed the economy. Let no one kid us. We haven't transformed the economy yet, to the extent that we can say our economy is resilient on its own. No. And the finance minister always cautions all of us that government is being prudent in spending, is being prudent in managing the fiscal space, and that's why we are seeing these benefits. So this is what we are enjoying. And due to those prudent decisions, the rating agencies have recognized it. What this simply means is that now we are at less risk of default in terms of paying our debts, which means people are more likely to come and invest in Ghana. People are likely to give their money to Ghana. But the question is, does that mean we should go borrowing immediately? I thought that's the discussion anybody will be looking at. Not I contributed to it or I contributed. At least if for nothing at all, we know who took us to junk. We know. You didn't inherit the economy in junk. Rating agency at the time was not junk. You had 8 good years and you landed us in a junk status. That is clear. It's never lost on. That's the reason why I say people have selective memory loss. Either they have it or they are forcing all of us to believe it and have it. But we, for heaven's sake, we have memory. We know what has happened. So the whole point I'm trying to make is, let us celebrate the government for prudent management, for maintaining some discipline, for making sure that we have come to this level. It gives us an opportunity that we can borrow. I would say that if we can still do without borrowing,
right,
that is where we should go to. Government should borrow when it is essential. I am an entrepreneur. Borrowing per se is not bad, but to borrow for lavish spending, borrow for your children to come and pay in future and come and tell those children to clap for you, that I see as an insult. And that's what was happening to us in the previous administration. They deferred the payment, and because they have deferred payment for 30 years for our grandchildren to come and pay, they come and tell us, clap for us, we've done very well. How have you done well if you have borrowed to spend and I am going to pay in future and I tell them to clap for you? This is my basic understanding of these economic terms. And I don't think you need to be an economic theorist from Harvard or from wherever to appreciate these things. My plea is that whatever His Excellency is doing to put this country on the right track, this is likely to give us the liberty to the temptation to want to borrow. Whatever we have done in this past 5 to 6 months that has brought us this far, we should keep to it. If we can minimize the borrowing to very essential things, we should do that. And I can see that happening because the government is not spending lavishly. You have a government that says that, look, something as basic as DSTV, I don't want it in my offices anymore. And the presidency.
Flagstaff House is going to extend to.
Yes, government ministries.
Yeah.
No, we've been in power how long? Compare last year or 4 years by this time, whether people had not bought brand new V8s already, whether the fleet in the presidency had not changed by this time. Have you heard any such news?
No.
Have you heard any such news? So
Prudent
this tells you, look, very prudent spending. To the extent that this man, even when our presidential jet was not in good state, has been sent for repairs. Another easy thing, look, this is not fit for purpose, we are buying a new one. But we haven't heard that. They are trying to repair it. The tank is corroded. That's what the defense minister makes us understand. They are trying to repair it so that it is fit. When he was doing his Africa tours, he was using the brothers' flight. This is somebody mindful. Why couldn't he have rented a private jet to use for all of that? So you see, from top to down, and all of us who are in government, we are being consciously made aware that we have to reset this nation. And that means that we must all tighten our belt a bit. And if the president is doing it, he said 60 ministers. He has not even hit 60 ministers. Number of presidential staff has reduced drastically. Ministries being merged up. He's rationalizing the expenditure at these ministries. I think that on the basis of all of this and trying to block the loopholes, maybe we can raise enough money. Oral is working. People are willing to go back and pay back monies they have stolen. If all those monies can come in and shore up places here and there, and we can implement some taxes and ensure better compliance to minimize how much we borrow, I think that is the best way to go.
Right.
So it should not bring excitement so much that we want to quickly go to the bond market and borrow. If we are meeting our expenditure, let's keep to it. If it becomes very necessary to borrow, productive sectors. If you borrow and put it in big push, I'll be happy. If you borrow and that borrowing will mean that I'll drive on a first-class road from Kumasi through Wenchi to Hamele, and food products can come from there, I'll be happy. Those are the things we can borrow for. If we can borrow and we can have multimodal transport so that we are not only on the road, we have a rail system. That is prudent borrowing. And this investment can virtually pay back the money that we borrow. So we should think about that. But if not, it's a good thing. We celebrate everybody who have contributed. If the NPP feels that they have contributed in any way, we thank them. But we should celebrate government for what they have done and encourage people, bring ideas that we shouldn't borrow just too much just because we've gotten to B minus.
Right. I'll read a few messages before I come to Doc. Good morning. Please, the minority should spare us the noise. How come that even though the MPP government started the economic recovery since 2023, it is only in the recent 5 months under a new government that we are seeing sustainable positive gains? David from Teshi. Good morning to the people of Teshi. Those of you watching us from Camp 2, Aduemli, La Scala, Grade Estate, thank you so much for your time this morning. The government should never allow MPP whose scorecard in governance was abysmal and plunging the economy to a junk status to lecture them on governance. Asanko from Santa Maria. You go on to say that, did I hear members of the irrelevant micro-minority accusing the government for not consulting them before increasing the existing energy levy from 50 pesos to 1 cedi? What was their scorecard in governance to motivate government to consult them? All right, thank you for your message. This one here says that, good morning, my name is Richard from Ho. Happy to hear from you today. Thank you very much, Richard. Good morning to the people of Ho. I'll do some more messages. This one here says, I'm watching you live from Italy. Thank you so much. We appreciate you watching all the way from Italy. We are grateful. I'll proceed to do some more messages. This one here says, watching and listening to my honorable Professor Bayo, my member of parliament. This one came from Mano James. I'm impressed by the thoughtful response from the Supreme Court nominees, signaling a shift from the era of unanimous FC to a more independent judiciary. Progress is being made under the current government, and it's our collective duty to support President Mahama in upholding the rule of law and strengthening justice delivery. Undoubtedly, you don't need a rocket scientist to confirm that Dr. Bamia will win the NPP's primaries on 31st January 2026. Anyway, regards to Honorable Mavis Kumsen, incoming MP National Women's Organizer, and Honorable Sylvester Tete, incoming MPP General Secretary. Oh, okay, I see. Francis says MPP's early Congress is good news for the party and the grassroots. Special regards to Kumsen, incoming National Women's Organizer. Okay, all right, I've heard you. Let me now come to Dr. Jamal Mohammed. Dr. Jamal Mohammed is the Executive Director for the ADRRI, that is the Africa Development and Resources Research Institute, but he's also an economic brain. He's a senior lecturer. He's a senior economics lecturer at the Koforidua Technical University. I'm sure he has a thing or two to share with us on the economy and Fitch's upgrade to B- and what it means for our country. Doc.
Bless. You see, Ghana doesn't live in isolation, and all over, economics are played in the minds of people. That is how come we had the emergence of Fitch, we have Moody's, and then Standard & Poor. Because normally, perceptions about how you govern your country matters a lot in terms of how other people want to come and deal with you. And so the essence of rating hinge on the economic health of the country and then credit worthiness. And this is one thing that I like, the economic health and credit worthiness. And so anytime a rating is done on any country, the two variables they are looking out for is the health of your country. And when we say the health of a country, it could be financial health, it could be regulatory framework, it could be business smoothness and fairness in trade, it could be infrastructure development, it could be your ability to pay back what you do even internally in order not to introduce overcrowding effect. Then credit worthiness comes into play when we talk about the fact that as Prof was talking about, you borrow from somebody and your ability to pay back, not just paying back, but paying back on agreed date. These are very, very important issues. That's what we said. Rating is always about the psychological concept of the mind. And so if you look at what Fitch has been doing, and over the period, Fitch has been a dominant player in terms of rating because of the way they assess the variables about a country's performance. Ghana came from a junk status to B-. And basically has to do with the mindset of those who drive our economy. So if you have a mindset of doing good to people, there are certain enablers that will become your watchword. And so these enablers, one would be how you even spend money that is entrusted on you. You know, as we are as students of law, we've been told that the government does that on our behalf. Whatever that any government does, it is on our behalf. And so, the decisions that you take, even in terms of one say monetary decisions, how you spend the money is very important, and it matters to international community. And so, your action and inaction on how monies are spent are part of the psychological concept of in terms of rating. How you borrow the money and how you use the money also matters to rating agencies. Then, how the impact of that money on the people. So you can realize that all of this cumulatively is all about people. And so when they do the rating, what will then become the impact of the rating on you as a country? So the rating is just a psychological effect in telling people how you behave, these three things I talked about. Your ability to look at the health of your country and your creditworthiness. But internally, how do you use the money that you go to borrow? Is very, very important. It's very fundamental to rating agencies. And the output of that. And so, once you are rated and an alphabet is assigned to you like we have been given, B-. Now, what it does is that the first thing it will do is the cost of your borrowing in future. How much money as a country you can be able to borrow in the international market, and at what rate, because the rate matters a lot. If you have a higher rating, your cost of borrowing is lesser. And so from a junk status to B-, what it means is that if Ghana was to go for the bond market and then we will get 15% as an interest, now that we are the B-, we may get it about 12. And so there is a savings there. Then again, what will be the impact of that on our exchange rate? There is always interest rate volatility. And so when you are rated higher, it means that there is stability in your exchange rate. And what is stability in your exchange rate? It means that your trade balances are getting improved. Then, IMF and other multilateral corporations, you will definitely deal with them. When you are rated, as we are rated, if you remember the very day the rating came out, you remember that IMF, one of the officials of IMF said that they will have to relook at Ghana in terms of their next round of meetings, if you remember. So sometimes when I look at people, they will tell you that, do we eat economics? And I laugh. Or I listen to people and they tell you, this is just numbers. But look at just from Jan to B-, an organization that eats and gives us something to eat tells us that, look, because your situation has changed between this period, I am going to reassess what I gave you and what I'm coming to give you. It makes a lot of sense. And so for me, as to whether who does what, who doesn't do what, if you drive people and you drive them properly, and the outputs are there, then we have to say you have done well. And so government has done well in terms of because when the heat, you remember the last I used to talk about the fact that when there is heat in the economy, the heat is not only singling out NDs or MPP, it is getting to all of us.
All of us, yeah.
And so when someone is given an opportunity to lead, what we should be hoping is that the person leads that well, and once we have been led well, the deliverables will come to all of us. And so the rating is very critical and it's very good at this time, because it comes at a time that the economy is yet to be opened up. The government is just to open up the economy. Also, one good thing I like, because when you take an economy that has heat, you have to control expenditure. And then what they are operating, contractional monetary policy and contractional fiscal policies are two major expenditure patterns that I think government can always use to help. And that's what they are using now, which is good. Then they will be timing into the future. And I'm very sure the rating will even move up. Because apart from an exogenous shock or an external shock that we cannot account for, if we go this way, by getting to December, we may move past B+. Because you see, if you are able to hold your expenditure in a rightful way and spend wisely, when you have not actually put in the fundamentals, the economy will definitely thrive. And I like the approach to which the approach that government is using. Now, going forward, what can we harness from this rating? One thing for sure is that government will have to go back to IMF. We shouldn't sit for them to come. Because you see, when IMF funding comes into the economy, it further reduces the hit we have. And so what government can do is that government should go and show them the book. Look, please, look at my books. My books are good. And so I think that you need to rethink, because they also have some concessional funds that can be given, which is not part of the agreed facility that you have with them. And so instead of going to the bond market, which I agree with you in fact entirely, that this is not the time that government should. If government makes a mistake and go into and start borrowing, it will throw us off gear, and that is not good for us as a country for now. And so government could then go back to IMF, which is clean slate, that this is what I have done. This is what even people are talking about, and people don't even understand. You see, these rating agencies are very influential, and they are benchmarks used by other multilateral institutions, even in terms of investment, which another leg I will talk about. And so government should go to IMF. That's one thing. And when they go to IMF, this will be a game changer too for us because of the rating too. The rating will also drive investment to Ghana. That is what it does to us. Many people over the world have money sitting somewhere, and they want safer grounds to invest their money. And so and most of them also follow what these rating agencies are doing. And so once this rating has been so favorable to us as a country, you will see investment pulling into Ghana. And so I want to believe that government and the other government political appointees would open our arms properly, and then we also do a lot of interaction to ensure that investment will come in. And when there are investment booming in the country, it fastens our developmental phase as we are looking out for. And so that is very important. And then cost of business, because of rating, cost of business. Once these ratings are done and the government begin to move away from borrowing internally, there is money left for people internally to be able to get money. And so cost of business also begin to the hit on cost of business begin to go down. And so rating fundamentally has several positive impacts on a country. And I usually will say that any politician who downplays these rating agencies will be in trouble, because what they do is that they will give you evidence why money A, which was meant to buy graphic, has been used to eat wachi. Yes, and so fundamentally you have misapplied the money. And the ripple effects is that if the money was supposed to which was meant for buying graphic for students to read, the opportunity cost is that students will not get to read the graphic. It will be used for something else. And so government, my advice is that government should retool again. Constantly we want government to retool. Government should also begin to, let's see how we can cash in the benefit of this rating, by way of also calling, and you'll be surprised that there will even be more direct investment coming into the country. And so government should speed up. Government should look at how we can deal with some of these issues by way of partnering with our international partners and letting them know that there is a new wing by which the development phase of this country is going to go, and that whatever that is being given out is how it's going to be invested. And when these assurances are given out, and I'm sure they are going to, and at the same time, we must be very much open as a country in terms of our finances. We should be very open, because most of these rating agencies, sometimes some may paint a gloomy picture because you hide certain information from people. And so if government is very open, I'm telling you that more ratings or other subsequent ratings we have will be more higher than what we are seeing.
Makes sense. And I think one other thing I'll just add, Les, is that the nature of leadership we have inspires confidence. You know, the attitude of the leader, we can't take that away. The honesty, the sincerity with which His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is leading this nation, and the finance management team, all of that inspires confidence, and it brings back some level of hope in the country. And all of that is what is manifesting in this as well.
I agree. See,
yeah.
I did some. I take through people through change management and emotional intelligence. One of the videos I did is about leadership, and I was telling support that is just the only ingredient. Ghana, whatever you do at your smaller level, at your larger level, if there is no leadership, the rest you will struggle. You can have money.
But you can't.
You will be bankrupt because you don't have. There is no leadership.
Right.
And so we would need to have most of you are MPs. There should be a deliberate effect, even as political parties, to train people to be leaders.
Yes.
And I think that will be the only engine that will drive the growth of this country.
Yeah.
So leadership, I think, is one of the fundamentals, and that and you can even see public support. I comment on social media a lot because I use that for ranking. And so when you look at when His Excellency John Dramani Mahama goes somewhere or he does certain things, just take your time and go to the comment. 90% are always in favor of him because of leadership. And so, and I want to say that successful government should think about that.
You know, because even when we introduced this tax, which we've held back because of the issues, you know, generally it's not comfortable paying taxes. Nobody wants to pay more taxes. But if you look at the approval rating of that tax introduction, except for a few political commentators who were not being very objective, many people were supportive of it. As much as people know that they realize that, look, this is a hard thing, it's difficult, but if you look at what you have done, and this is what I kept saying during the time that sometimes I'm tempted that one day I should go and read economics. I'm not an economist, but you realize that wherever the situation is, it's issue of the revenue coming in and the expenditure.
That's right.
And so if the things are not balancing, you don't focus only on the revenue. You also focus on the expenditure. And I maintained this severally, that if our economy were not holding at the time, cut the expenditure. Whilst you are trying to mobilize more revenue, but you are adding taxes, you are increasing taxes, you are doing everything, and yet you are not doing anything on the other side. You will balance the thing out.
Is that like an equation? You have an equation. A equals to B. When there is imbalances in A and B remains the same, there's continuously going to be an imbalance. And so if there's an imbalance, you have to shift the other side.
A little.
And you see, if you look at it, there's basic economic thought. Government has monetary policy, fiscal policy. Within the monetary policy, government can either contract or expand. Fiscal policy, government contracts or expand. Currently, we are contracting because government is not spending. In terms of both monetary and fiscal, because there is heat in the economy. Now, if government decides to spend, right, and then the revenue that is going to be generated is not matching this, we're always going to have trouble.
You have trouble. You know.
So it's a simple. It's like your house with 100 Ghana cedis, and you want to spend 500 cedis.
And then where's of you go and borrow 1,000 and buy chicken for the children and say, clap for me because today we've been able to get chicken. And you are not going to even work and pay for that chicken. You are telling them that when the children start work, they will come and pay for that chicken and say they should clap for you. What have you done to us?
Well, let's proceed to our next topic for conversation. I don't know why so early, but the New Patriotic Party, the NPP, will be holding their presidential primaries on January 31. 2026. That means that in less than 7 months from now, the NPP would have a flag bearer going into the 2028 polls. And I've been listening to Honorable Apengamakin in Parliament. So all the time he makes reference to 2028 will soon come. I for one do not know the confidence where he gets that confidence from. That he's so cocksure that the NPP would win the next election. But let's look at the New Patriotic Party currently as it is in its current state, in its current form, the leadership. And by the way, we understand that in Team Fojo, Stephen Intim, he has stepped down from his role as chairman of the party due to health reasons. Health reasons. We wish him a speedy recovery. I mean, but let's look at the leadership currently and some decisions that they've taken in recent times. The opposition, Ghana's biggest opposition party currently, and how they are holding the feet of government, of this current government, to the fire of accountability. And the way forward generally for the party into the polls. Okay. There are some front runners. We know Dr. Bawumia would also contest. Brian Champong would contest. We know Kennedy Japan would contest. And this is a personal opinion before I'll be very surprised if any of them is able to make 50%. Any of them is able to make 50%. I'll be very surprised.
Oh, don't be. This is politics.
Right.
This is politics.
Tell me what you don't know. Or tell me what I don't know.
I mean, you think that is an automatic win for Dr. Bawumia?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it is an automatic. You need 50%. Or you need more than 50%.
You are saying that nobody will win it like on the first round.
No. I don't see that happening. Looking at the people in there and the history. If you look at the salvos that they are firing at Dr. Bawumia for his bad performance in the
you see, there is the political analysis of it, and there is the operational analysis of this.
Right.
You know that, the flag bearer is not going to be elected by the generality of their membership.
Yeah.
So what it means is that anybody interested in winning this flag bearer race must be interested in their current electoral register.
So that the person can appeal to those people.
Now, whether there is going to be a change in that electoral register between now and January is a question. But if there isn't a significant change, then the powers that control this register or delegates will be the same powers, and things may not be that much different. I hope you understand me. So sometimes when I hear commentaries on political issues, those of you in the media assume that how everybody feels in the country is how the delegates will feel. Remember the Sir John of Blessed Memory's quote that you should fear delegates. Delegates have their own mind and don't take anything away from them. So I don't know the level of reorganization that will be done before there's their presidential primaries. I can understand why they want to have primaries early. And for us in NDC, I would say that we don't care who becomes their flag bearer. We know that Ghanaians are going to judge us based on our performance. One of the things the NDC should never fall for is to be distracted by what is happening. Because Ghanaians are not going to judge us based on whom they present. If there's any lesson we learn from the poll that just ended, it is that the Ghanaian is smart. The Ghanaian votes based on his reality, his living reality, his lived experiences. On the basis of that, they are going to pass a judgment on our performance for 4 years. So if we allow these things to distract us, they have a candidate and then we also run into it, because we have to still govern. We have to still reset this country. We have to run the nation such that whoever becomes our flag bearer, the people of Ghana still have confidence in that vehicle, which is the NDC, and will give us that overwhelming support again. So I can understand why they want to do it in January, because the longer this chaos proceeds, the worse it is for their party. Currently, there is no leadership. The parliamentary bit, they are trying to do their bit. From there, Afenyo is leading the team there at the party headquarters. Unfortunately, the national chairman is not well. The vice chairman is stepping in. There is no flag bearer, because the previous flag bearer in the election, after the election is over, you are not like the leader of the party. So there's that kind of vacuum, and there's chaos all over the place. So they need to reorganize. And an early primaries for them will be advantageous, because then it allows enough room for healing, for reconciliation, for everything together. The danger, however, of these early primaries is that primaries don't occur in vacuum. For you to have a fair primaries, you should have had elections at your branch level, That's a complete reorganization of the party. You should have elected new people at your branches, or your polling station, as they will call it. You should have elected new people at the ward or the electoral area level. They elected new people at the constituency level, or they will hold what they will call constituency conferences, then regional conferences before a national conference to elect. I am not privy to their organization, but for 6 months, I doubt that they will do all of this. What is likely to happen is that they are going to rely on their existing structures to select the flag bearer while the organization of the party continues. Because if they were to do it correctly, that means that they would have also gotten all their regional executives freshly elected. But they can't do all of that before January. What is the implication of this? The implication of this is that for new entrants coming into an establishment, you have huge challenges. So I pity those who are joining the race fresh, because those who are in the race before, if there is no significant change to their delegate list, these people have interfaced with them in the previous primaries, so they have a head start. For those who are coming in new, you now need to get all your structures to be able to interface with all these delegates before this election. And that is not easy. If there was a reorganization, a complete reorganization, then you all play a role in the reorganization. And at the end of the reorganization, you have a new delegate list, and that's what you're going to use to elect this national leader. It becomes a very level playing field. Unfortunately, it is not. It is not. And I can see things favoring people of the old stock.
But fine. I am sitting here, and also in my mind, there are several things running through my mind regarding the persons who will be contesting this primary. You look at the NPP and its history. Nobody has ever won an election. Nobody has been flag bearer of the NPP and won an election while getting less than 70% of the votes in the primaries. I mean, history backs that. If you look at Kufuor's performance, you look at Akufo-Addo's performance, even in the 2007 primaries, he wasn't able to get the 50% plus one. He went for the national election and lost. Then he was retained, but with a huge margin. Is this going to happen with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia? I'm looking at that, and his chances, especially because of how bad he has performed, or how bad he performed in the previous polls, even in regions or in places where, because of, I mean, tribal allegiance, you can't take that away from our politics. Because of this reason, we expected that he was going to do so well there. He did not. And also, the leader of that establishment that saw to it that he became the flag bearer of the party is no more the leader of the party. Okay, so I mean, that's why I'm doubting that any of them could get 50%.
But you see, politics is not. I mean, I'm a scientist. Right. I wish that this politics was predictable. In science, I have been taught that anytime you add A to B, you should get this. So the validity of a research should be such that anytime you use the same methodology, you should get the same
result. You should arrive at the same conclusion.
Good. But unfortunately, in politics, it doesn't work that way. I can see your line of thoughts that, okay, you have someone that performs so abysmally. You know, they can explain that performance away. They can explain it away. That, look, we all perform as a government so badly that
it translated
into me being punished. I took the flock on your behalf. Not that I, as a candidate, am that bad, but it's because the entire government was so bad that the Ghanaian wanted to just do away with all of us. That could be explaining how I performed so abysmally. Then the fact that, was he really the choice of the people? Or he was an establishment candidate, and therefore the system was forced to select him. DCEs and all those who appointed were all whipped in line to make sure that this particular candidate won. So in the absence of that whipping power, can that kind of performance be replicated? That's a very valid question, and it's difficult to tell if that will happen. I doubt that he may be able to get that kind of overwhelming support again. He could go to any of the other candidates. You can't rule out any candidate, because if you look at the performance of Honorable Kennedy Japan, people did not expect him to do that well. People were tipping other candidates. But
even with the establishment backing
this side, he did so well. So it's telling you that now, without this establishment factor, and the question is there really going to be no establishment factor? That's the question. And remember, people have accrued resources. The resource angle is also important. People have accrued a lot of resources for this thing. How would that translate? Because in the government, people had abuse of incumbency. DCs could all be whipped in line. Regional ministers, people were punished if you did not support. People could not speak their mind. You understand? And all that led to a certain victory. With a free system like this, will it be? But I'm telling you, for them to have an absolutely free and proper election, they should have gone to the full cycle of political organization. Before I see, and this is my personal opinion, I see this early primaries as an attempt to favor a particular candidate. Because then there is not enough room for anybody else to organize the base. And if you are using remember in a lot of places there were fight over even the electoral roll, their register. In places people fought that things were changing. So if you have not, and in politics, especially this delegate system of politics, if you ever wanted to contest an election and you are going against an incumbent, and you assess the relationship between the incumbent and the delegates and realize that it's a very good relationship, save your money. Don't even try it. Because see, to be able to get a proper change, it has to start from the base, where all the branches across the country have to select new branch members, executives. Then if neutral people enter in there, or other people who are not owing allegiance to anybody enters in there, it gives everybody a playing chance. That is the reason why all political parties always restart the reorganization from the base. If you do that all the way to the top, then it becomes a level playing field for everybody. So I see two things here. This short interval to the primaries gives incumbency advantage to the previous candidate. It gives a very huge advantage to the previous candidate. If they are not going to be able to conduct, and this on the proviso that they don't elect new branch executives, they don't compile a new delegate list, they don't compile a new constituency list, because it's not only the delegate. The constituency executives have an influence on your delegate. So if you are using old constituency executives who are former DCs, who are former appointees in government, and the same people, you go to the regional level, the same people who were ministers, who were people who were all in government, is the same people. Then I don't expect much of a change. Then I won't be surprised to see a huge performance by one candidate, because essentially it's the same people. It's just a matter of how to whip them in line. The power of the state may not be there, but if you have the same stock of people, the last one will be that it will depend on the message that is sold. With this, which of these candidates will appear to unite us? And remember, their party is built on strong traditions, and depending on whether you are in this history, in this genealogy or not, or you belong here or not. So all those factionalism will play a role. And whether the Ashanti caucus want to take back their party to reconstruct it, or they want it to go, the ramifications are a lot. But for us, it is the beauty of democracy. The NDC remain focused that our chances in 2028 is not based on the candidate that NPP will produce. No. It's not based on how well organized NPP will be. No. Our chances is how we perform on our contract with the people. And it is really in our hands. As far as we are concerned, it's not in the hands of the NPP, it's not in the hands of anybody. So it's in the hands of all our appointees, our ministers, His Excellency, everybody who is within our party, those who are in government, especially, it is in our hands. How we deal with the economy of this country, how we deal with our party people to reduce the people being disgruntled, how we manage the hope and expectation of the ordinary people, how we reset the economy, will bring it. The final one is that, as for the talk to like comment and confidence of the minority leader, Afenyo Makin and all of that, like their comeback 2028, in politics, the least you can do is to give hope to the people. So you expect any leader to inspire some hope in the people, because they've been dealt such a heavy blow that if leaders don't rise up, the party will die. And it's not in the interest of any political party that we have only one party in this country. No. We wish that there will be a viable opposition, but we want Ghanaians to give us an opportunity to govern for a very long time. Very long enough to reset this country, to make Ghana what we want it to be. And the Ghanaians should know that NPP has not learned any lesson. Because you see, when NDC lost power, we went quiet, studied the system, did introspection, accepted our faults, reorganized before we started coming up. These people, they lost. They never really understood why they have lost.
So they did the report.
Oh, please. How many have accepted that report?
The report. I hear the former president has not received that report.
How many of them have even accepted the report?
Not seen the report.
They don't even accept it.
It was Gabi saying it. Gabi Ochidakun was the one saying that. Yeah.
So let me hand over to my colleague.
So Doc. You I know you like data. Dr. Bawumia won the previous primaries with 61.43%, I think.
Yeah.
And then Kennedy Ejapon was second with, I think, a little over 30%. I make the point that without the establishment, I see a Bawumia. I do not see a Bawumia victory, a one-touch Bawumia victory in the upcoming primaries. And also is the fact that some of the people who supported him are now moving to other sides.
Yeah, it's possible.
They are moving to other sides now.
See,
so it appears that there is some freedom of choice now, which did not exist with the past regime, with the past establishment. And so there's now freedom
to move.
To move.
Yes, so I agree with you, but in fact, Prof has taken most of the things that I wanted to say. But one thing I have learned when I was studying promoting accountable democracies is that politics is like, seeking politics is like you sitting on a chair with four-legged legs like this, where one leg is broken and you may not know. So as he was just explaining, I'm summing up what he has explained. You see, the predictability in terms of choice in politics is very, very low. You can't just say he will win unless you have everybody tilting to that person. And even with that, we will still have people who will come and stand there and still vote not supporting the person. If you look at based on what you are saying, most of the people initially were whipped to fall in line, right? But the current issue you can find is that there is a power play between His Excellency Bawumia and Honorable Kennedy Ejapon. I don't know whether you've observed that. This is a shaft power drift between the two of them, and it's an eyesore. And so they running to have, or the party wanting to have an early Congress, is just to have a leader who can crack the whip. I think that is one of the main reasons. But my challenge is that, is it constitutional? I haven't read. I saw they were quoting Article 13 of the MPP Constitution. I have not read the Constitution of MPP to the full end, but I want to find out is it constitutional to reorganize a party or to have electing a flag bearer without having necessary to go through the funnel we normally see from the down to the top?
Yeah.
Because my challenge is that most people, and some people are even angry with the current general secretary, and they wish that he leaves. Because some of them say he takes sides. Right, I get in it. Yeah. That's what people we talk to, my research base we talk to. We have people who feel that all of them should go, and a new crop of people should come. So I don't know whether the National Council took that into consideration, or they just wholesale want to solve an issue for which they want to elect somebody to be able to lead them so that they will run into the election. There will be troubles for some time. So I think that, I don't know, and in his communication, when I listened to him, he only talked about they having to elect a flag bearer without talking about how the other organizations will be done. Even including him, he's been contested, someone contests, others seeking to contest him. So I was thinking that that is my viewpoint. The National Council could have looked at it and see how smoothly they could do all these elections to rejuvenate the party base and even get other people who may also have some leadership potential to influence to a larger extent to get them to get what they want. But this is a case they want to go and elect a flag bearer. That is fine. But in terms of these two leading contenders, right, you realize that some people, in fact, those, for example, who used to be speaking for, but we have now moved to be speaking for Japan. But there is a likelihood that the current crop of leadership are likely to favor one candidate. We all know that. And that is undeniable. You can appear to be neutral as you want to appear. But everybody knows that. Even when they are thank you toy, remember we discussed this some time ago. When they said one person withdrew, I was expecting that the party would say, let's come back to the drawing board and go back to do that. But they still went ahead with one candidate. I don't know whether you observed that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it tells you that in the minds of people, there could be a sharp division. If people perceive that this is what they want to do, there could be a sharp division. And so, in terms of who will win, if they are going to go with that, what they have currently, I'm very sure one candidate will win. I'm very positive. Even if the other candidate who was also very strong is coming, he is still going to come. But because of the way the arrangement is going to be done, he's not going to get it. But as to whether its impact in the general election, that I don't want us to provide a solution to that.
As for the general election, we are winning it.
Internally, our party will grow up. Do you know, I knew people, during the elections, those when we were taking data and look, I knew people who were typical MPP and they tell they're not going to vote for MPP. Right? So, if they don't take time, they will further deepen the apathy among their party at the lower rank. Because if you want to do certain or take certain decisions, you would need to take those decisions bearing in mind that the very people you want to govern have that endorsement of what you want to do. That same people have that feel that we have been carried along enough in terms of this particular decision that I want to make. But I think that the National Council of the party should also look at things very well. Because currently, there is a serious fight inbreeding within the party. And it is not about a leader that can solve that particular part, that issue. Because there is still going to be a struggle for leadership in terms of people who want to lead. And at the end of the day, when this struggle comes, they're still going to, disunite people. Over the period, there was one gentleman, I'm not going to mention his name. He's one of the vociferous gentlemen in MPP. Initially, he could speak for His Excellency Mahmoud Bamuya. This time around, when I listened to him, I said, is this gentleman? What has he eaten?
That's changed.
I get it. Within a short period, just 5 months. And there are things in the boardroom that he normally will even be saying in one of these 3 stations. Sometimes it frightens me. And so, for me, I think that they need to tweak they need to tweak some of their decisions properly and look at it properly before they make these decisions. Because sometimes you just don't be in a haste to solving an issue and creating more issues.
Yeah.
You should rather be in a haste when you know that you have full information with you full support with you, and you can be in a haste to doing whatever you want to do. And so it's good that there is, and I've always said they should always have, in terms of our multi-party democracy, we need very strong opposition to always keep the current government or any current government in check. But we should not also just decide to elect leaders just because we think that we want to solve an issue. And I think that is the basis of that. So, and even look at even within the context of the party chairman, even till he's resigning, and then why this letter was written by him, his family. I don't know if you read the letter. It's more or less like there was this boardroom wrangling.
Yeah.
But the tone of the letter was not at all. You could just ask that permission to do it, and that answered. And when I read it, I realized that no, there was certain things behind. And that is well communicated, yes, to them writing like a warning letter to ask them to leave me alone to stay away from political party activities. So by and large, it is also good that maybe they have also done their own homework. They have done their homework, and they think that allowing themselves to have election next year would be one way or one surest way to reorganize the party. And I wish that the party is reorganized so that at least Ghana would still have a very good opposition that can help move our democracy forward. Because if we don't have a good opposition, we'll get to a point that government will begin to renege in doing things with the citizenry, and that can also create problem for all of us.
What I've also learned is that the national organizer of the party, Nana B, he has come out. He says, the story says the national organizer of the New Patriotic Party, Henry Nana Boakye, popularly known as Nana B, has taken exception to the public disclosure of the health condition of the party's national chairman, Stephen Ntim. Speaking in an interview on Movement TV on June 17, Nana B criticized both the family of the chairman and the member of parliament for Nsuta Kwamang Beposo, Adledia Jewa Ntim, for allowing details of Ntim's health to be discussed openly on television and radio. Chairman Ntim is not a child, and this letter has brought disgrace to the family. If there's a reason he needs to take a break, must you write such a letter and circulate it in the media? B expressed disappointment in the MP, who is said to be a close relative of the chairman, insisting she should have handled the matter with greater sensitivity and discretion. The person I am most disappointed in is the Honourable Member of Parliament for Nsuta Kwamang Beposo. I called and told her directly if this were about her, would she be happy to hear her health issues being discussed in public? Quiz. But I don't know why in this that in this part of our world, when it comes to people in the public domain, we are so this one about their health issues.
It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing. I don't know when we will get over it, but it's not only public persons.
Yeah,
the whole country. It's a cultural.
No, but I'm only limiting it to public persons because there is some interest.
Yeah, so
there's some interest.
Let me give you an example. So, as an obstetrician, during part of my training in Michigan, you do a scan for a pregnant woman, and then we find out the baby is a boy. They will put on the internet, it's a boy, and they're celebrating. How many Ghanaians are willing to do that?
No, I won't do that.
You understand? You'll tell you, hey, if you do that the next day, your baby is dead inside of you. So there's that cultural thing that when people know about your health status, they may use other means to make it worse, a whole lot of things. And that cultural fear is there. Honestly, I wish we get to that point, because I don't know why we could not have just disclosed the health status of people. And if we were all doing it as people, that we can publicly talk about health status. We are by law as doctors not permitted to disclose unless
that would be a breach of confidentiality.
You have to disclose yourself. But if our patients and clients were willingly disclosing their health status to people, it would be easier for people in authority to do the same. But there's that cultural fear that someone knowing that you have this condition, hey, it is going to get worse just by virtue of the fact that they know. In a political space, you would think that your opponent may use it that you are weak, you cannot stand the election, you know that kind of thing. But I see that it goes beyond that. There's a culture. I really wish we'll get to that point where people can freely discuss their health, because especially those who are in public, you are a property of the state.
Exactly.
The state has interest in you.
Yes.
And we should know what is happening. But you see, it will be unfair to them to give them a different standard from the stock that they were taking from.
Okay,
That's the basics.
To some extent, I understand.
If all of us were accepting it, then it's easier for people. I mean, the king has cancer. They were announced.
People had COVID-19. Ministers had COVID-19.
Yes,
they couldn't think this.
Yes, you see, they'll tell you, the president has taken ill. Then they'll give you the details.
Yes.
The queen has
the Pope. They gave us blow by blow. Everything that was going on.
And it was comfortable for them.
When he fell sick.
Yes, and it was easy for the Pope to even come in public with his oxygen container.
Yes.
But will you do that in Ghana here? Because you cannot disclose, even when you are in a state that you can go to work with it, you cannot, because you don't want anybody to know that you have a problem.
Yeah.
And it kills, it rather kill us more than us we are, because sometimes someone is ill, they may be maybe somebody may have a way of dealing with that.
Yeah, an intervention. But
for me, my disagreement with Nana B is that you don't have control over the family of the the former chairman. You don't have control over the family.
He has political interest, and
but
that party.
But you see, it is disclosures like this that can shift the nation gradually.
Yeah.
From that secrecy with our health. If the man has problems, and I've seen that they describe cognitive dissonance and some other issues, which from a medical point of view, just by reading that, I think I know exactly what's wrong with him. Yeah. If they are comfortable to share that, gradually everybody will be comfortable to share that someone has a cancer, someone has that, someone has that. And we have to get to the point where we know that people knowing your condition will not make it worse.
Yes.
They will even treat you in a way.
People may pray for you. People may even understand you and may appreciate you better.
Yes.
You know, one of the reasons why people don't even want to seek healthcare in Ghana is for fear that
they know their health condition.
Their health conditions should be known. Not that they don't trust that the doctors can keep it. Yeah. But you know, you enter a hospital and you are interfacing with 10 people, not only the doctor.
Yeah.
There's a cleaner coming to clean where you are lying.
Yeah.
Will the person go out and say, hey, I've seen this man here? Yeah. Or will he see something on a monitoring chart and say, hey, this man has this condition? If it were such that you yourself, you are willing to disclose it and you don't care, then why are you worried that someone else would? Unfortunately, that's where we are. So it has to be cultural. We have to start letting our young children know that it is okay to let people know that you have this condition. And that fear that somebody will spiritually make it worse must be gone.
Let me read a letter. In team family of Wamfi and Insuta. Temporary break from duty as national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, with the family members of Mr. Stephen Ayesu in team, national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, bring you warm greetings. To begin with, we can all attest to Mr. Stephen in team's lifetime commitment and dedication to the New Patriotic Party for decades, rising through the ranks from first national deputy chairman to his distinguished service as a current national chairman, as demonstrated by his genteel but very assertive leadership style, his enthusiasm to his job, and his sheer love for this great party. At this juncture, we, the family members of Mr. Stephen Ntim, have learned that the party has convened a meeting scheduled to be chaired by Mr. Ntim, and would like our beloved son, brother, nephew, and relative Stephen Ntim to be excused from attendance of this event due to recent developments on his health and well-being beginning from today, 16th June 2025. Although not official, it is well known that Mr. Ntim is not well at the moment, and his condition requires time off from active professional activities in the interest of medical attention and monitoring monitoring for the time being. Therefore, in compliance with his professional medical advice and in cognizance of his demanding office, we, the family members, do hereby request that Mr. Ntim be temporarily excused not only from active office duty but also from outright party politics until further noticed. I'll jump to this part, which says, as with any human, even merely participating in such events will not augur well. I think for me, skipping did not do a lot of good, because the reasons for him stepping down, and like you stated, like you reading from the medical point of view, you understand exactly what is wrong with him. But we wish him speedy recovery. He's a calm man, doesn't talk much, He's done, yeah, of course, he's done his...
the kind of power that was behind him those days began to gradually win when he became the chairman. If you observe. And you realize that it was like a field play for people.
And also, I don't know, it appears that this current NPP's leadership is not as assertive as I think it should be, or as the previous leadership, you know. This one,
differences in leadership style.
I'll do a few messages. I'll have just 2 minutes more.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Bayo, for your brilliant ideas. Emmanuel Mwena from Bechema. Thank you so much. Early presidential candidate election by the NPP. Great idea. We need a shadow ministry as well. This will enrich our politicking. Richard sent this one. Thank you, Richard. Bless. The NPP is making a big mistake by electing their flag bearer in January 2026. Most of their members' hands are filled with corruption and will be facing investigations. They should not choose a flag bearer who will end up visiting the security organizations for questioning. Sami in Adenta sent this one.
Very true.
Good morning, Bless. The NPP can actually claim credit for the Fitch ratings because if for nothing at all, they made way for a proactive government, the opportunity of turning the fortunes of this country around. The best of the NDC is still ahead of us because the ineptitude of the past NPP administration is far behind us. This one here also says that, good morning, respectfully, Dr. Jamal is a brother and a friend. I've lost him for quite a long time now. Please kindly give him my contact. Umar sent this one. I don't know if Doc, I don't know if you know any Umar who has lost contact with you for a very long time, but he wants to get back. But my time is up. This is where we draw curtains on today's edition of the morning show. It's been a very insightful, very educative conversation. I've been so blessed to be in the midst of these two power brains, Professor Titus Bayo and Dr. Jamal Mohammed, both of whom are professionals in their fields, one in medicine, the other in pedagogy, tutelage, and economics. Right. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, do have a pleasant morning. Thursday edition, you wouldn't want to miss it. Comrade Kwesi Pratt, Honorable Inusa Husseini, Philip London. Until then, have a nice day. Bye-bye.